And we're live. Hey, everybody. This is the Helping Friendly podcast. We are doing a quick hit for what show are we doing a quick hit for? Alpharetta, Night 2, July 15th. That was yesterday. My name's Jonathan. I'm here with Brian and Megan. And you guys hopefully are here too with us in some way, live or on the internet podcast format, because we do that. This is still a podcast, right, guys?
Last time I
Still
checked.
podcast. Is it
Cool.
is it a vodcast? Is it a vlogcast? Is it a video
man,
podcast? I don't know what it is. Is
Don't
it a
try to get
television
that
show at
fancy.
this point?
I've never even
I mean,
heard some of those terms. This is exciting.
I didn't
I
even get makeup
watched-
before this, you know?
I watched yesterday's quick
Speak for
hit
yourself.
on my television because I couldn't attend because I was
So it was a
driving.
TV show.
To me, it was a
Oh.
TV show. Yeah.
I was on TV yesterday. Wow.
Yeah, you were on TV. Did you know that?
Exciting.
Yeah.
No,
pretty
I'm
cool.
excited about that. That was like my dream.
Are
since I was a little
you
girl.
guys excited to talk about last night's Fish concert?
I am. I thought just broadly, there was a really interesting contrast that I heard between last night and night one that I'm excited to dive into. I
Right.
love the set listing. This tour has been really interesting, and I'm really fascinated by what they did last night. That we'll get to. It was a fun show
yeah.
to spin.
We definitely will get to it. I think we should probably start off with the whole reminder to everybody that we have like a Osiris Premium, and everybody can go to osirispod.com and sign up for that and get ad-free episodes, our bonus episodes, and all kinds of great stuff. And I just want to make sure everybody knows about that. If you don't, I don't know why, because we I think spend a fair amount of time talking about it periodically.
We say it every episode.
So and we have done so once again. So
And the bonus episodes are super fun too.
Yeah,
They're really fun. We talk about cool stuff. We talk about books we're reading
is it
and
cool
favorite
stuff?
music. Okay, maybe nerdy stuff, but
It's fun
cool
though. We
nerdy
have a nice
stuff.
time.
Yeah,
nice
it's
time
really
chatting.
fun.
There are no rules. There are no
Mhm.
guardrails to the bonus episode. There's no time restriction. There's no such
Yeah.
thing as a quick bonus episode, although they are fairly quick. You know, we're
Yeah,
not
I mean,
we're not
sometimes.
asking too much of your time. You know, but they're fun.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
They're
we're
really fun.
not always driving out for 90 minutes or whatever, like some of these quick hits. No, kidding. That is purely a
incorrect.
shot across
Incorrect,
Brian's
Jonathan.
bow, and I apologize for
Listen,
just taking it there early. You guys
Yesterday
had a
was
lot to say.
35 minutes for an
That's okay.
epic show. Not, come on. Like, I thought we actually did a really concise job.
I won't say
Here to
concise,
defend us.
but you did a great job. You broke it down. You said what had to be said, and I
Great.
enjoyed listening to it. So
I will just say I have 5 points about last night, and if I make another point, I blame both of you.
Okay. I'll take it.
okay. Well,
I'm hoping to get you to 7 at least.
There you go.
should we get into it? You guys did the Atlanta history yesterday, so we don't really have to talk about that. We can just
do it.
get right into the meat of this show, which has everything except for meat. They did not play meat last night, but they did kick off the first set kind of old school with a Runaway Jim foam combo. Set Your Soul Free, Fluffhead, and Everything's Right, Esther, and the Golgi. I'd like to point out, because I've been tracking this and I briefly commented on it the other day, these sets were very consistently at about 75 minutes, and they've been doing that this whole tour. I looked back, and they kind of toyed with that on the spring tour, but a couple of shows some of the sets went a good bit longer. So, and in the fall, there was no real evidence of pattern here, but now we're really consistent, and it's kind of unlike Fish in some respects. But I dig it; it's working.
But I think that's kind of like speaking to this intentionality about set listing. They're obviously thinking about how long these sets are. They want to do these longer encores. I think Trey is really thinking about these set lists. They're making nod backs, like a gym foam opener, 55 times.
Come on.
All 91, 92, 93, 94. This is, what that is. And then
Mhm.
again, Rift Tweezer in the second set too, kind of a nod back. And they haven't done either of those for a long time. So it's exciting. I think Trey's really thinking about set listing.
I seem to recall in 2013, there was at least that summer tour, there was a very there was a tightening of the rotation, and there
Mhm.
were a lot of classic songs, a lot of classic pairings. 2013 was obviously the last. It was 10 years ago. That was the 30th anniversary. It would seem that these anniversary years, at least from the outside, strike a sense of nostalgia in the band. What is
Yeah.
interesting as well, and I thought about this with last night's first set, you have four junta songs, which I did
Yeah.
not have the time to go through every set list to see when was the last time four junta songs were played in the same set, but I'm willing to wager without any information that it's been years, and it's been a
Mhm.
significant amount of years, especially with the amount of impact that has been on all the new songs over the last 5 years, plus just the simple fact that there were a lot of songs written between junta and the present time period of whenever they played a show. So that felt unique, but also the two striking moments of exploration in the first set were off of relatively new songs. Set Your Soul
Yeah.
Free,
Yeah.
Everything's Right. It felt like this interesting balance between old classic Fish and living in this zone of, a song like Runaway Jim, Foam, that pairing that was from the early 90s, like you guys were talking about. But then, Foam and Esther and Fluffhead, these compositional songs, Golgi Apparatus, a very classic set closer throughout the mid 90s and into the late 90s. It felt like you were living in kind of Fish nostalgia in a sense, but not like nostalgia just like for nostalgic sake. It felt
Yeah,
like
you
we were
can't use
living in
the
that
N
Fish
word, it's so
zone.
loaded.
Yeah, it felt like you were living in the zone of enduring Fish creativity that resides in when they were 18, 19, 20 years old, but then even today, where songs like Set Your Soul Free and Everything's Right really push the band further in a really cool way.
Well, it's
I
Well,
like
thought it was
doing
interesting.
nostalgia right, you know? I think it's like when you're gonna play your classic compositional songs, songs that are so challenging to play, like Fluffhead and Foam and Esther and Golgi, and even like playing songs like Golden Age, which are really, complicated lyrically, and you're playing them perfectly. Like that to me shows that you're able to like nod back to that time, but then you're also gonna, yeah, take these new songs and like place them in the perfect spot and run with them. It's I think it's just perfect. Like they're using their new songs as inspiration for jams, and then they're taking their old songs and playing them just like perfectly. It's
well,
exciting.
the Fish.net has this cool feature for every show. The debut years they chart it out, and then they give you an
Mhm.
Yeah.
average. And so I mean, this show really spanned, but centered on 1997 as the average.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even though there was nothing from the late 90s actually in this show, it was all early or 3.0, including a bunch of, like four late 3.0 songs.
Mhm.
And, really well played. Brian, to your point, Everything's Right and Set Your Soul Free were kind of the bigger jams of this set. But Runaway Jim, right out of the gate, had a little bit of exploration. They
Oh
stretched
yeah.
Yeah.
it a hair, and you could tell if you didn't know from the previous nights that we were in for something good, um, right there. And
Yeah.
and it was funny because when they went into Esther, because I've been mindful of this timing thing, I was like, "Oh, they have 15 minutes left, so Esther and then something." And they finish Esther, and it was 5 minutes left, and Trey jumps into Golgi at, like, a breakneck pace, and they got it in there. And it was great wrap up to I thought, a really great first set. Do you guys have, specific highlights you wanna speak to?
No, I mean beyond. I think the moment I enjoyed the most from set one was the Set Your Soul Free. It was just the jam that really connected to me. I
Good
think
jam.
your point about the Runaway Jim is apt. That felt like they entered that kind of dissonant territory that we heard so much the night prior.
Mhm.
But kind of speaking to a larger point I got about this show was this sense of it was kind of this it was this bright old school contrast to night one, which felt very dark, prodding experimentation. And it kind of speaks to not necessarily from an Atlanta history standpoint, but three night runs in Fish history. You definitely get these like different variations of the band night to night in this kind of connected overarching, people will speak about whatever the Alpharetta run ends up feeling like after tonight for years to come. And you get this very clear after two nights. Night one, especially in that second set. It's dark, it's experimental, it's weird, it doesn't make sense at times in a really good way. Night 2 feels like we're, dancing in a field, at Arrowhead or something like that. And that Set Your Soul Free, it felt like you were ice skating, but like in Miami, where they like make an ice rink, and like there's Christmas lights everywhere. It was very bright, but it was
But you're wearing
sunny and
shorts.
beautiful. You're wearing shorts. It was just, yeah, it was like skiing in a t-shirt. It was gorgeous.
That's the best. Yeah, I really love that Set Your Soul Free jam. It was only like a little over 14 minutes, but this like there's an effect that Mike was using like about 5 minutes in. It was really deep and monster sounding. And Trey's playing these like funky, spacey notes. And the interplay between the two of them in that section was just so cool. And then you hear Paige come in with the synths. I thought it was really nice. It was just like a perfect little first set jam, I felt like. And I also think it's just cool that they're playing Esther like a little bit more like, they played it 4 times last year, but like pretty rare prior to that. Like I only got
Yeah.
my first one last year at MSG in the spring. So, it's a song that they're kind of like bringing back that just always reminds me of Classic Fish. And I think that they're, even though this set list is so interesting on paper, it still flowed really well.
Yeah, it's a nice beloved tune.
Hmm.
Keep it they don't need to play it every night, but
Yeah.
once a year, twice a year, 3 times, 4 last year, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wonderful because it's such a great little tune. Some Pages piano solos through that,
Oh.
are worthy of note because, of course, Trey's
Yeah.
are good, we know about that, but let's just point out that Page sounds beautiful on Esther, and, um well, let's talk about this, second set, shall we? You guys have
Let's do
touched
it.
on a couple of the highlights here. Rift into Tweezer. Shout out RJ. Was it RJ or was it you, Brian, who called the Tweezer in our text thread
That was
for last
RJ.
night? I'm the one who said, "No, it'll be Sunday." So, of course, it was last night. I did that on purpose because I knew I'd be watching, Into Golden Age, and I always wanted it this way. Back into Tweezer for a moment, into Harry Hood, the encore, A Life Beyond the Dream, Tweezer reprise, Big Black Furry Creatures from Mars. Um, I also want to take credit for calling I Always Wanted It This Way in my pick 5. It is the only song they played that I picked, and that's good because I think I was, other than that song, being a little cynical in my picks. Um, yeah, guys, I have a guess, but what's your highlight from this set? Should we
Yeah, I
just
mean,
go
to
talk
me to
Tweezer
me,
all
the
night?
big standouts obviously are the Tweezer and I Always Wanted It This Way. This song, like, I'm, like, loving the jams out of the song, and it's been going really fun places. Like, I think they played it at MSG over the New Year's run, and it was just, like, so great. But this Tweezer, yeah, it's great. I mean, it surprised me at its length. Like, listening to it, it doesn't sound like a 30-minute Tweezer. It just goes by pretty quick. But I really love when it gets, like, really delicate and quiet at, like, 9 minutes in, and Paige lays down, like, this one, like, really swirly synth, and it's that kind that makes you feel like you're, like, riding really slowly on, like, a merry-go-round when you're kind of, like, spinning, and it sends us, like, into this beautiful section, and that's my favorite place when tweezers go really delicate and really beautiful. Trey's playing absolutely gorgeous notes, and then Trey starts like looping notes and it gets really dancey and funky. And then Paige brings back the synths. And that's when Trey brings in like his Jedi effect and they're layering like really funky riffs. And it's just super fun, really dancey. And then the peaks have just like really gorgeous, long, sustained notes and has like a dark thrashing ending. So it's like a perfect kind of tweezer journey. It's fun.
Brian.
Yeah, the tweezer, I need to give a second spin to. It kind of felt like a watercolor painting. Like it just is like
Mhm.
this like smear of ideas, and it doesn't really have any sort of peak. They kind of go for a peak a couple of times, and I think that it felt to me like the mood of the jam was more, let's just play and let's just like
Yeah.
go, like keep going without um like when I heard the Ruby Waves, and I've listened to that I think like 4 times now because I loved it. It felt like every section was like this defined endpoint, and then it jumped into a new section, and
Hmm.
this felt less like that. This felt more almost like band practice in a cool way, where like you're
Yeah.
just hearing them just play without a ton of urgency. It's very melodic driven. I need to, like, again, I need to go back and listen to it because my big highlight of the set was I Always Wanted It This Way, which is
Yeah.
been long one of my favorite songs that the band has played over the last 10 years. I think it's one of the freshest sounding songs that they debuted back in 2016. There's been some excellent versions. Obviously, the what was it, Mexico 2019, I believe, had a really good version. Megan, you referenced MSG. I feel like Vegas 2021 had a really good version as well.
Yep.
It somehow finds itself like it has a groove that you would think would lock them in that groove, and somehow they
Mhm.
break out of that with a lot of ease that always blows me away. And this one, kind of like what I was talking about in the first set, that sense of that brightness, the happiness that it comes from this show versus night one's really dark kind of prodding experimentation. You really felt this at the tail end of I Always Wanted It This Way, and the way that it moves right into Tweezer, and then Tweezer, the return to Tweezer, and then Tweezer picks up that groove again, peaks that before going into, what was it, Hood after that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was Hood,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's just a really nice segment of music that, again, I say this not, critically, like it felt nostalgic in a way that it felt like we're in Fishland right now, but it also is coming off of a brand new song, relatively new song at this point in time.
Yeah, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this tweezer in, week, month, and I hope we have an
Mhm.
opportunity to really dig into it again with you, Brian, because I know you were occupied last night and you listened to it this morning. So I
Yeah.
watched last night. I listened to it again this morning. I don't think you're wrong either, though. I just think that as will happen, you may develop additional thoughts. I feel like this tweezer, it had a couple very significant places that it went. One is the extremely melodic major key jamming, where I think Fish.net has it labeled as a Lion Sleeps Tonight jam from
Oh, yeah.
Trey, a piece from
Mhm.
Trey. Eh, I mean, he's
It's like
toying
a
in that
flirt with a
same
tease. It's not
mode.
an
I don't
exact
really think
tease.
he's playing that. I didn't really hear him complete the melody, but maybe he does. But the space that they occupy, they stay there for a couple minutes. Feels like it's really beautiful. There's also another point where they break into. Um, uh, it's just a peak, but it's not a high peak. It's just this point they drop into where Trey just has all his delays pinging, and Page hits his, and everybody Fish lays out for a second, and it's just amazing ping ponging delays, and then they drop into the next passage, and absolute kind of master work from Fish. It felt effortless. It
Yeah.
didn't like it didn't struggle to reach the next phase of the jam at any time. It was really enjoyable. And to your point earlier, Meg, yeah, I agree. It was completely felt so much shorter in my re-listen today than even though I consciously knew how long it was. And last night when I was watching it, I wasn't watching the clock. I had to go back and look. How long was that? I knew it was. Oh, we crossed 20 some minutes. Um, and that was great to discover that after the fact and to have experienced it without any real TikTok. That's why I don't wear a watch, you guys. Just sometimes time is confining. Um, Brian, I agree though that I always want it this way. It's beautiful. It really hits a nice high peak. It is funny that this song that like what is Page DM, or it's everybody
Page
thinks it
EDM,
there's a
yeah,
little
yeah.
Page
little EDM-y
yeah.
when it starts, because he's hits some synth loop and kind of just hits these great grooves with it could be it could go into like a Disco Biscuits kind of space, but Fish isn't the
Yeah.
Disco Biscuits. That's not who they are, and they always break into something different. And I think this is a pretty. It feels. I haven't been back to listen to some of those other big ones that you mentioned, Brian, in a while, but feels a little bit towards more unique. It's very positive, very
Mhm.
very beautiful peak. And also, let's shout out the Harry Hood jam. There's a
Ugh,
little
Oh,
jam in
man.
there.
gorgeous.
It's
It's so
gorgeous.
pretty. Oh my
Um,
god.
and yeah, shocking they deliver a nice Harry Hood, but
They've really, I mean, found this place with Harry Hood
Yeah.
where I think it was 2021 that they were jamming it heavily. I don't know. The years blur together. There've been a lot of like big Harry Hoods over the last couple of years, but they can just hang out for 90 seconds in a
Yeah.
non Harry Hood space, and it's just enough. It just gives you a taste, and then they go back to the peak effortlessly. It's really,
Yeah.
really nice.
And when they do that for us, the payoff is so much more. I
Yeah,
mean,
Yeah.
just a
the
straight
darkness
Harry
and light.
Hood without a jam is always good anyways, because the song is good. But when they break out of it and then return with the kind of ease that they did last night, it's huge. Megan, do you have
You,
any
you,
to add to that before I talk about this encore?
well, I just wanted to say, when you hear a Harry Hood played this well, that's to me like the real test of like how good Fish is playing or how well they sound is when you hear a Harry Hood and it's, you like I was listening this morning and doing other things and it makes you like stop and you're like, wow, this is just absolutely gorgeous. And that's what this one was. And I feel like
Got me this
all of the
morning like that
hoods,
too.
yeah, I've been listening to lately that have been playing have been like this. I think they've just really I'm really surprised at the level of their playing right now. I feel like they played so many. I mean, I said this earlier, but I just really feel like it's worth reemphasizing. They're playing super complicated, very composed songs. They're playing them perfectly and they're jamming. There's a freedom and a confidence and kind of an effortlessness that it sounds like they're playing with right now that's just exciting. And I felt like the encore was really fun too. Life Beyond the Dream to me is just an absolutely stunning, beautiful, heart-wrenching song, and I thought Trey's voice sounded really great last night in a way that is just standing out so much on this tour, and what a perfect song to sing so well. And then fun reprise and a really fun Big Black Furry Creature from Mars reminded me of last summer, Jonathan, when we heard this opening set 2 in Raleigh. Just sick, unbelievable set, one of my favorites of the summer, and I love that when it starts a set and like it led that cool narrative arc from dark to light of that set, or it ends this show, right? Which is like, we're going to send you out with this just power, fun. I mean, everybody had to be like, just spirits had to be so high. Like, I bet everybody was just vibing so hard after that encore. It's really fun.
I mean, Trey laying down on the stage to play the last verse of Big Black Furry Creatures. Mike puts his microphone way up high, so he has to shout up into it, just like and then Trey's laying down on the ground, and it's God. I again, I like to see them having fun
Yeah.
and you know fucking around with the audience, and it's great. Just great.
Yeah, my last two thoughts about this show are aligned with kind of where you guys are at. I think, one thing we keep talking about the 75-minute sets and whether or not that's a planned thing or that just seems to be
It's a
happening.
little
Um,
scary to be a coincidence at this
it's
point.
happening over and over again. Yeah. The one thing I really like about it is that um it creates kind of an all killer no filler type of set approach where
Totally.
8, 9, 10, or 8, 9 songs maximum, second sets with like 5, 6 songs. You're getting the time is being dedicated towards experimentation, and then the songs, there seems to be a flow ability that happens there, that sometimes we get these 90-minute sets that like end up flowing really well. Sometimes that turns into a little bit more recital jukebox, which is for me personally not my favorite thing to listen back to. So I'm really liking how these sets are just compact, full of ideas, and then they're gone. And it has this counter impact where it leads to these encores that have all been really fascinating and really interesting. And you talk about the big black furry creature from Mars. This is something we've talked about thus far on these quick hits. This is something we talked about at the end of spring tour. That tour didn't have a ton of that Fish humor, and that Fish
Yeah.
humor speaks to who Fish has always been. And they didn't need to throw a big black furry creature from Mars in there. Like that's
That that
Mm-mm.
sh- Tweezer Reprise is the closer, right?
that's
Yeah,
the ender. That's
exactly.
it.
That's
Big
That's
Black
it.
it.
That's
Furry
how you end the
Creatures
show.
it's
Everybody probably
gravy.
thought it was over by then.
Oh,
Yeah.
people
And
walk. There are people who walked out when Tweezer Prize started. I don't know
right, right,
why they
right.
do it, but
Yeah.
they
You
exist, and
know that they're
they
like,
did it.
okay, got to book it. But
Yeah,
it's one of those things where, we've talked a lot about encores here. Um, an encore, in my view, can never like it can never hurt a show. If they come out, there's a lot of 97 shows that are bouncing into Tweezer Reprise encore, and
Mhm.
cool, or Rocky Top encore, cool. You don't really need much more in an encore to make a show, but an encore can add to the magic of a show if it's played in a fun, loose, energetic way. Um, Last night, an example again here this summer tour of a fun, loose, energetic encore where the band is kind of like, hey, we got 3 more minutes, let's just throw something crazy in there. Fans leave with another memory. That energy tends to carry over to the next night. So at the end of the day, just I don't know, really the vibes from last night again felt very different to me from Friday, but in a way that complemented Friday and complemented
Mm.
this overall run and this tour as it's evolving, in the sense that it kind of reached into the past and brought elements of the past to the present in a way that I really liked it.
I mean, Fish has so many sides that it's inevitable
Totally.
night to night to night. If they're clicking, they're going to be revealing different sides as they go,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's, I think, where Fish is right now. And I'm just absolutely thrilled that that was what, the fourth night of tour,
Yeah.
I know.
and
And this is where we're
we
at.
can say this kind of thing. Hell
Yeah.
yeah!
It's exciting.
It's
So
good. It's a good
exciting.
feeling to have right now. I feel good.
Yeah. Me too. And I've only got 2 days till I see Fish, so, I feel really good.
That's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
That's
I
gonna be
think that
great.
that venue looks really cool,
It's
small.
beautiful.
We're talking about
Mhm.
Wilmington for anybody who doesn't keep track here, and I think you're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, guys, do we have anything else we need to add here? Um,
We got Sunday in Georgia.
is it
Yeah,
Mike's
never
song
miss a
night?
Sunday
Finally,
show.
we get the Mike's groove.
Probably, right?
I think we're going to get a Mike's. I think I will stand on my prediction from yesterday. I think we are getting
Mm.
another Oblivion before the weekend ends. It
I
just
think that's fair,
um,
or maybe Evolve.
maybe evolve. That would be very nice.
Yeah.
I just noticed on fish.net they note that they sound checked The Well multiple times last night, which was
Mm.
late in night one of the Denver run, the Trey Trio run that was debuted. Really cool
Let's go back
backing
and listen to
gem off
that.
of that.
Yeah.
Highly recommend people go out and check that out, because it would shock me to no end. There'd be no shock if they played it tonight or night one in Wilmington. It feels like that's a song that is
Ooh.
being prepped to debut here very soon.
I wanna hear On Pillow Jets.
I do too.
That's maybe I'm holding on to that for Wilmington, so I'm not
Hey,
gonna put that out
don't
there.
push
I'm
it
gonna
too
keep that
hard.
tight. Yeah, yeah, exactly. No debuts last night for the first time, so maybe there'll be
Mm.
another one tonight.
Well, they, as our predictions were that they would debut, what, 7 songs? You and I had
6 or
those, that
7. Mhm.
number.
Yeah,
Yeah, 6 or 7. They, they gotta take a night off from debuts, or they're
it's
gonna
true.
blow us out.
And we
We're
have
Well,
gonna be
and
wrong.
2 over 20-minute jams now so far. Now, Jonathan, what was your so I said there's gonna be 14 this tour. Brian said 18. RJ said, like, 7 because he's clearly a pessimist. I don't know, but what did you say,
Was I
Jonathan?
on that day? I don't
No,
remember
you
if
that
I
weren't.
was
That's
after night one.
why.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what is your guess? I mean, you have a leg up because we
I
already
do
have
have a
2.
leg up. I think it's probably, I think the over under is 10, so I'm taking the under. I think they're going to do a lot of like what we saw last night, actually. 15
Mhm.
minute, when we saw the first couple nights, 18-minute, you know, they're going to stretch out, but they're not. Last night is still the exception to the rule.
Okay, so your number's 10?
My number is under 10. I don't have a fixed number. I'm just going with the
Okay,
under.
because I'm writing this down in my notes.
Oh,
Under
she's going to
10.
hold us
7,
to this,
under
you guys.
10, 14, 18. Let's see where
Yep.
we land. This will be fun.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Whoever wins gets a belt.
Can
A
I
bell.
can I just gratuitously shout out my friends with the John T. I'm wearing their T-shirt today because my friend Scott, he's
Yes.
the drummer from the John T. and he is in Georgia and saw his 300th show first night, and a hell of a
Sick.
night that
Oof.
was. And
Yeah.
and on that day, on Friday, they dropped a new record. So everybody should go check that out.
Good
And
shit there.
this is unpaid promo. I am their friend and I also am their fan. So you should check it out. Okay. That's all I've got. You guys, any last thoughts before we let everybody go?
Sunday night in Georgia. Let's get it,
Gonna be
Let's get
fun.
after it. We'll see you guys
Let's do
tomorrow.
it.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks everybody.